Hey everybody, it is so good to see you. Welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. Our good friends at Dolby, we're going to start to unwind the magic of Atmos because you can have Atmos at home. Today we're going to talk about education Atmos and how much you can learn from their resources. John Scanlon is here, an amazing guy, just Atmos education back for the Dolby Institute. And we're actually going to have some folks from Abbey Road Institute, Reumers and Natalia Schlesinger, who actually put Atmos to use. So you're going to meet them as well, too. But first, our homework. And we've got some ultimate winners from Avid. Avid's come back as one of our sponsors. They were one of our original sponsors. We love them. We're giving away some licenses to Pro Tools Ultimate. Now, you can win as well, too. Let me tell you who's won so far. From Slovenia, Lian Matic. From Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Caleb Stevens. That's such a good Tennessee name. Ariel has won from Argentina. Andri Wijaya from Indonesia. Anth Alonso from Spain. And Jaime Lopes from South Africa. Global winners all over the place. And you can win too. How do you do it? Go right here to this link. Visit pensadosplace.tv/giveaway. And win a license to Pro Tools Ultimate. You have 1 week left. Go. NAMM is back. You should go. June 3 through 5. All kinds of stuff is going to be going on. Anaheim is a place where we all come together. And Pensado's Place is going to do a special Pensado residency, although I call it Pensado Palooza. We're going to give away a bunch of stuff. It has some bad panels. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be interactive and fun and energetic. We're a lot of stars in the room. We want you to absolutely attend. Go to NAMM.org, secure your badges. When you get your badge this time, you also are joining NAMM. We're going to be there 2 straight nights in a 1,000-seat ballroom. So get there early because I'm going to give away a bunch of stuff in the first 10 minutes. So we'll see you at that. On our socials, please hit us up. Pensado's Place everywhere. Like, subscribe, click notify so our team can get back to you or we can get back to you. We so appreciate your support. And without further ado, John Scanlon, badass. Robin Reumers from Abbey Road, badass. And Natalia Schlesinger, also badass. Enjoy. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
John, as you know, we've talked about this. Dave and I certainly talk about it a lot. From our chair, we get to watch companies that both approach this space properly and approach it incorrectly. And it's not because they want to approach it incorrectly. Sometimes they don't sort of get that if you don't love the music and if you don't love the creators and if you don't put that first, it's really hard to have the tech match it. Am I close? What do you think?
Yeah. Dolby's always been that company, right? Making tools for the creators. And, when the company was founded over 50 years ago, that was the intent, right? Was to help cinema soundtracks. And then that, of course, moved into the recording studio later on. And then we won't go through the whole history, right? But Dolby has always been about putting the tools in the creators to help bring their vision to life in the best way possible. And throughout the years, throughout formats, right, we've been able to do that. And now with Dolby Atmos, right, that's the next step in immersive audio. And so where we're looking at Dolby Atmos now is, film, obviously, episodic content, streaming on Netflix and HBO Max and Disney, broadcast as well for sports, and now moving into games and music pretty heavily. And music brings out, the education side of this now, where everybody wants to learn how to do it and how to get into it and how to mix in the format.
How does that trigger you guys in terms of things that's available to creators, stuff that, what's the educational approach from Dolby?
Yeah, so Dolby Institute's founded on trying to get these tools into the hands of all creators, both professional and then get them into the youth, right? And that's really where I come in for Dolby Institute. We're very much have always been focused on the professional side of things and still do so. For instance, Dolby Institute has a podcast that's led by Glenn Kaiser. It's called Sound and Image Podcast, and it covers, their latest was the Batman, right? And just, unlocking the soundtrack and talking to the composers and engineers and stuff like that, and sharing those things with people for education, same as your show, right? Sharing things for educators, and so people can learn. What we're looking to do now is to get this in the hands of youth and get this in the hands of young producers, creators, and mixers. My focus was university level, but now we're even going into high school with the availability and affordability of the tools. And then even going further, right? Social impact, right? Diversity and inclusion, nonprofits, right? Places like, we have a partnership with Building Beats, which is a foundation in Brooklyn. And we have a partnership with FemHouse, right? For female producers, engineers, and creators. And so just trying to get people's hands on the tools and teach them that the concept may seem like it's way out there, but in all reality, working in the format is actually very accessible and very easy. So throughout Dolby Institute, what we have now is we've got a load of stuff, and people can go to dolby.com/institute, where they'll find a lot of information, meaning education links, podcast links. We make tutorial videos because we're approaching teaching from not only the engineering standpoint, but from the content creator, right, from the composer and the producer standpoint. So we have full sets of curriculum online that are self-paced that people can go to. Exercises and all your different DAWs and different formats, Pro Tools, for instance, right, Logic, Ableton, etc., and content that they can download and work with in those exercises. And then up and coming, right, new quick start tutorials that we're working on, and ways to, again, get people over the hump very quickly and get them creating in the format itself.
The thing that I think is so amazing in that in our small world, well, it's not that small, but we get to see, again, the people who are also creating cutting edge stuff, and then allowing the home producer to become democratized. Like the home producer now can do exactly what the person in the studio can do. The tools are available. What he hasn't told you is you can get Atmos for your car coming.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work it out, guys. They have a Tesla, but I can put mine in my Toyota. But with Atmos available, with tutorials available, with the Dolby Institute around, with the access to links and other kinds of things, and then the school relationships. I one of my favorite parts of my job, I'm an advisor to so many schools, and you just see what's going on. So with somebody like Abbey Road, with Robin down in Miami and Natalia, that relationship must feed each other. Is that how it works?
Yeah, and Abbey Road's been doing this for quite some time. So they are on the forefront of this education. I think that what you find is that you mentioned this before, right? So there's a lot of formats, right, that have come out in the past and present, right? And really what it takes is you have to get to the fans somehow, right? You can't just create this stuff in a studio and expect people to want to hear it, right? So it needs to be available. And with the ecosystem so readily enabled for that, right? We've got cinemas, we've got home theater systems, and we've got, like you mentioned, cars, right? All the way down to your mobile devices with streaming services like Apple Music, with Amazon, with Tidal, right? All of this, that whole pipeline is there, right? So when you think of it and you create it, a place like Abbey Road teaches and mixes in the format, then they can send that stuff. It's got distribution, right? And then people don't have to go out and buy new devices and all new music, right? It's already there for them. They may not even know it. It's already in their pocket, ready to go.
Yeah.
John, one of the things I like about some of these issues that we're discussing today is the weight that's given to the younger people that are coming along, and the understanding that this is a creative tool. It's not just buzzing hi-hats behind your head. It's a creative tool. And I kept wondering why is it they say that you have more control? And then I realized it's because of the way that you can control where you place something in the stereo spectrum. And now, if you've got 5.1 or any system, Dolby actually makes that system work. You can go all the way up to 11 or probably 5 million, but I thought that was really good to get the entry level guys in, and then having the young cats coming along That's really, really, really a feather in the cap of Dolby to feel that way, because I think the future is really pretty important. We're all COVID out. Let's get some new blood.
Yeah, exactly. And what you mentioned there is twofold. So there's, first of all, there's an Atmos first workflow, right, where you can create your Atmos mix, and then you can derive all your other deliverables there, right? Your stereo, your 5.1 surround from that mix, right? So the workflows are such that it's easier for people to work in the content. And when you mentioned the youth as well, what I'm looking at too is to this year, and moving forward, is to create a kind of community of education around this and make students feel supported. On the Dolby Institute site, we want to have, and also, like you say, being all COVIDed out, like in trade shows, I'd love to have, like I used to go to workshops when I was a student where you would sit there with a panel of engineers like yourself, and they would critique your mixes, right, in front of other people, but you would get that exposure, right, where people would listen to your stuff and actually give you feedback, right? So creating mentorship and creating student showcases where you can show your work and trying to foster that community and build confidence in the format and mixing in the format. And that's something we're very much about. Yeah.
One of the questions that we all get asked quite a bit is how to transition from stereo to Atmos. 2 speakers to 20,000 speakers. And how would you answer that, Robin?
Well, actually, yeah, from our point of view, I think, basically you have a Pro Tools session layout and you have your multi-tracks, and you typically would start in stereo, and actually also in the curriculum, that's how we start. Obviously, we start first with stereo, but actually now we're getting to this point where we start with stereo, we introduce them to immersive, get them, like, we always let it sit in a bit so they experience immersive and they're like, okay, wow, and then they start thinking about it, and then we actually start with the classes where they see the workflow and the technical side, and then they start mixing. So for us, that's kind of the process. But then what I think is really nice is in the end, we actually have them thinking backwards and actually start with doing an Atmos mix of one of the songs they produced, mix it in Atmos first, and then later think about the stereo down mix and think about, where to cut out things and make things fit in the stereo space. So I think it's kind of like a road from stereo to getting introduced to using as many objects as you want. And then at that point, going back.
I was maybe just going to say that whenever one of the cute things when we have stereo mixes that have been released years ago and we're up mixing them into Atmos, it's been very interesting because somehow you still have to respect a lot how the stereo mix is, right? So it's not like in Atmos you can create a whole new different thing, but that is not the purpose sometimes of what you're doing. People don't want to listen to a different song, a new song. They just want to listen to the same song they're used to, just in a new space, a new environment. So one of the things we kind of check are that we're not going too far from the stereo mixes of balances or tone wise, but definitely giving a new space and a new environment for the song. It's if you went inside the song, that's one of the things we've been doing when we are moving from stereo into an Atmos mix.
What equipment takes you from stereo to Atmos? You can't just turn on Pro Tools and say, okay, give me some Atmos. Okay, come on, man, give me the technical stuff. Give me the, I live off this. This is my dessert right here. Describe the equipment. Describe everything about it.
Yeah, there was two things. The one thing is the basic needs that you need to actually get started, which is, you download the Dolby Atmos production suite, I believe is the official name. And you install it, you have your iLog, you get the license.
Now we're talking.
From that moment on, if you're using Pro Tools, so it's a bit different in every DAW, but if you're using Pro Tools, you then select, one way to do it is to select a different, in playback engine, select a different audio interface, which is called the Dolby Audio Bridge, which will allow you to send your audio to the Dolby renderer. And then from there, you can monitor on headphones, for example, with the binaural renderer. So, but that software is kind of the only thing you need to get started. Obviously, once you use speakers, you have to do your speaker calibration, and it's a bit more complex to have it all set up and calibrated.
Mhm.
But the initial start, and especially as John mentioned, like working on headphones, that initial step is very simple. I mean, I think it takes 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get started.
Wow.
The hardest thing in life is getting started. That's why I was asking this question, because the process of getting started is the most difficult process, but it seems like it's pretty easy. You just load up the software and you're rocking,
Yeah, and we have a lot of links that show some that have tutorials that are quick start guides, right? So if you're a Pro Tools user, it's a 5-minute video that will get you up and started, like Robin was describing. Pro Tools, change your playback engine, a Dolby Audio Bridge, connect to the renderer, and you're mixing on headphones, right? If you're an Ableton user, you can do it this way. If you're a Logic user, the older version of Logic, before they put the renderer inside the software, you can do it that way. So there's a lot of tools that we have on the Dolby side as well to help get you started.
The other thing, Robin, that we talked about, which was interesting, is how you incorporate Atmos into your studio and Natalia. So how does Atmos work for you guys there, both as a tool that you use and as a teaching tool?
Yeah, like we're very fortunate to have a studio where we've been mixing quite a few albums and records lately in Dolby Atmos. And so it's been very interesting to incorporate the students, because always our philosophy here has been that we want students to work on real life projects, and actually projects that end up out into the world. So that journey of figuring out like how to incorporate them with all the tools that are available online, there's a lot of resources online, and then combining that with the projects here. Like, one of the interesting things that I've found is, we always, as educators, we always keep drilling them that they have to be very precise, they have to be very detail oriented. And I think with Dolby Atmos, this is even more so, because a lot of times, whatever you send out has to be, well, you can have up to 128 objects, so you can have so many channels, and you cannot miss anything. You cannot have anything muted, for example. So teaching them to prep sessions and be very careful and make sure that everything is working, that's been very interesting. But I think also from the creative side, I think working with Natalia, we're like a very good team, because like I'm very technical. I'm thinking about like how hard is the compressor hitting, what is it doing, and she's all about like creative decisions and doing that.
Yes, for sure. I think that's one of the things that have been very interesting for the students here as well, because we've been teaching them and working with them on all the technical stuff, but at the same time, we're working on all the creative part, because one of the things I've found most interesting about this is that you can literally play with everything. You can put everything all around, and you can find so like new sounds that don't exist in stereo. Mm-hmm. And the way that we're like starting to create projects like from scratch, thinking them already for the Atmos studio, it's been like very interesting. And I think the students are like finding all those things together, like all the technical and very details that Robin told them to do specifically, and but also like finding those creative sounds and starting to like have their heads already on all those things they can do and play with.
And that's actually what I wanted to ask you, was in having this kind of technology available to you, does it inspire your creativity?
Oh, for sure. It's been like these albums and tracks that we've been mixing here. First thing we do is we just start playing around with everything. It's like kind of exploring a little bit. I still think there's like a lot of new stuff in there that we're exploring, and that's one of the like my favorite parts. Like, you just get to explore and play around, and then suddenly you find some things that work and that sound really nice, like ear candy, and you're like, okay, I'm leaving this here. And then that's been like kind of the process, just like playing around and having new ideas. And then when you go outside of the studio and start thinking, for example, in new productions, in new songs that doesn't exist yet, your mind is already like in that setting, like, hey, I can do this. I would place this over here, and then I can have more space for this stuff. So creatively, I really think it's like giving, as you were saying, like giving us very new ideas and new things that are gonna change things in music.
From a creative position, tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like one of the best things that this version of Atmos does is it allows you to create a real environment, and I think that's something to hang on to. And it feels to me like Dolby is really trying to do that. And then having that real environment and foundation, you have the things buzzing and whirling and all these things coming in, and with that foundation, it just seems like something that is an infinitely creative tool for creative people.
For sure, yes, for sure.
I guess that wasn't a question. I guess that was
that was a statement. So let me. Oh, go ahead, Robin.
No, I also wanted to add that, like, I think, yes, you definitely have like the possibilities of like ear candy and can do things, but like a lot of people that I talk to, like about immersive in general, like first, and I tell them, like, you know, a very simple concept that you always want to do in stereo or think about a lot is like, oh, I want to start the song very small, very narrow. And then when the chorus hits, I want it as big as possible. And in stereo, you can go big because you try every tool in the box to make it as big. But then once you get here, you can actually make it go everywhere, and you can actually get that impact that maybe you've been searching for in stereo. So I think that it's opening up new possibilities. And
speaking of new possibilities, the other thing it seems to me, my feeble brain, is all of us who care about education, when you have tools like this, you're now teaching people to have more tools no matter what they do. Because if you can mix a song in Atmos for your musical thing, you're not far from being able to go deal with streaming or visual content or other kinds of things. And so you're more prepared now with job options, places you can go, things that you can be ready for. It seems to me, am I right from an educator standpoint?
Yeah, I think that's always true, right? I mean, in order to introduce new concepts, new technologies in education, right, it can't just be cool, right? It has to actually lead to outcomes. And, over 300 plus studios, that have been enabled globally in Dolby Atmos. And then now with, all the content, services that are coming online, this is going to lead to jobs, and there's not enough mixers out there right now in the format to handle all the work, right? And we're just talking about just remixing catalogs is like one thing, right? But when we're talking about newer immersive audio stuff, and you put that in the hands of students, and they do things that you would never think of, right? Because this is all, they're just like, what? I have how many speakers? I can play sounds anywhere I want them, and they go nuts. And so we're learning new things all the time about what's possible creatively.
And for all the students that are out there, I'm sorry, Dave, just real quick. I can tell you that 2 years ago, pre-COVID, I was running around with Ozzy Sutherland from Netflix, and we were going to some places who wanted to have Atmos rooms. And the requirements from Netflix level were just extraordinary. Like, from biometrics and safety to sound and options, all kinds of stuff. And I was like, man, if you can work in this, you can work lots of different places, man. It was really impressive. And now to watch 2 years later, in a weird way, COVID kind of allowed some people to develop and move further with it and get their rooms together. And now it's like a new world out there that is kind of not so new that you can't do it. It's just part of the new way. And so I'm watching young students come up and they're talking spatial audio now, and they're in junior high and much younger. It's so cool. Really cool.
Yeah, really cool. They know about it so early on. And that's also been because, with binaural and the ability to take this from, speakers to headphones, we've been able to teach remotely during COVID. And that's been a humongous plus, is for me to be able to give demos to people online. Now I can't wait to get back to the in-person thing. Very soon. But that remote capability is also very, very helpful.
John, I was thinking about how the elderly statesmen that are getting into this fare as opposed to the younger cats. It feels like, and it definitely is, this focus right now is on the younger person, and I think that's the right way to be. But have you found any pushback from some of the older people? Or because all my friends that I know, they went into it crazy big, you know.
Yeah, at times. I mean, with any new format, you're gonna find that for sure. And that's, you know, if we think about like, well, I've been around long enough to go from tape to Pro Tools, right? And I mean, I learned on a synclavier. That's pushing me way back.
Love that.
Right?
Love that.
You know, when you go from tape to Pro Tools, there was a lot of hesitation, and there's a lot of hesitation with anything new. But I think that once you get over the hump of showing people just how easy it is to get into the format, you know, you don't need a lot of software. You don't need to redo your whole studio. You know what I mean? There's very easy ways to get into the format, and the possibilities it opens up, as we've all been talking about creatively, where you're not having to think about trying to get everything into 2 channels, right? And dealing with frequency masking issues and all that kind of stuff. Different ways to record, and then you've got this sound field to place things in, right? And again, go back to the immersive audio standpoint, it becomes very cool if you open up to it and give it a shot. Yeah. And I found that most people that I talk to, once you give them a quick demo on what it could be,
Done.
yeah. Once they hear it,
yeah. No question. No question. So take Abbey Road in Miami. Phenomenal place, the art house, the studio, the quality, the brand, the fact that the theory is to have students work on actual programs and things that are going to come out and you know, fight the light of the commercial process, and it's real world learning. So when you bring folks in, and we're lucky enough that we have a chair, they'd give a scholarship in Pensado's name at Abbey Road every year in Miami, which we're super proud of. Do you find that anybody is thinking about it? Oh, let me reframe it. It feels like everybody wants tomorrow's technology. Nobody is worried about protecting what happened in the past. Is that what happens at the school? Like, people want to move forward. They're like Pac-Man. They just want to keep. Is that the student perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I think nowadays, people are very like forward facing. I mean, I still think, you know, they obviously respect, like, I mean, we have the tape machine here. They love using, like, putting stuff on tape, printing it back. So I think there's always like a healthy balance of like really appreciating the past and everything that has happened. But of course, looking forward and seeing what's possible, what will be possible next year. I think that's exciting for everybody. And
I'm seeing more and more of female gender get involved in our space in every particular area, which I love. We have been big proponents from day one of females being respected, not just being in it, but also being respected. And Pensado's place is mostly run by women, I must say, and run well. Do you find that trend is growing, and you're seeing participation by females and stuff in all the spaces that I see?
Oh, for sure. Yes, for sure. I mean, I think it's still kind of a conversation ongoing, like women in the industry. There's still very few of us compared to like the amount of men. But especially looking into like younger generations and like the young people, every time it's even more normal, and it's less of a conversation because it's getting normal for women and to be around and to just be part of it and be in sessions and being engineers and producers and everything. So I'm glad to see that every time it's even like more normal and less of a conversation because of that, which is great.
Absolutely.
We see it. We see this access to training about Atmos, and I think that's amazing. There's very affordable places to learn, but the university relationships, how is that being handled, and what is the advantage to each of the two parties involved, Dolby and the university itself?
Yeah, so there's two sides. One of it is just exposure, and how it's being handled right now is quite literally, I am having conversations with each university that is interested and each group that is interested, and meeting with them one-on-one, just like this. Let's talk about what your existing facilities are, what your student population is looking for, right? If it's music, if it's post, if it's games, if it's all of that, all of the above. And let's get you started with some tools. And the curriculum that Dolby is providing right now is free to universities to use. I find that universities use it in a couple different ways. They either drive their students to it as extracurricular because, let's say, like Abbey Road here, they've already got a program in place, right? So they could very easily just say, hey, there's this whole program online too that could supplement what I'm already teaching you. Or they'll take it, a la carte from our site, right, and put it in where they feel is necessary. And I like to tell schools that, you don't have to have a studio to start. You can definitely start learning the tools on headphones, and that's actually recommended, right? So on a laptop, you've got your DAW, you've got the renderer, you can start learning that way. You don't want to end there, right? That's not the end game. You have to get into a studio on speakers at some point. But learning the tools can be a very personal thing, and you can take it at your own pace, to start off with. So that is a very one-to-one relationship. And I do invite people to go to the dolby.com/institute site. There's a form there you can fill out to get in touch, and we can set up a personal one-to-one meeting to talk about how to get a school started and producing in Dolby Atmos.
From day one, how long does it take the average student to go from 0 to all the way to 100?
Well, I would say that, it depends on their level of technical knowledge already. Mm-hmm. I used to think that you had to have a background in surround in order to step up into Dolby Atmos. It's definitely not the case. I found that was the case for me, just because I was brought up as a very linear learner, right? So you don't just start mixing in surround, right? You get to start in mono, then you move to stereo, then you move to surround. But kids don't think that way nowadays, right? You can just take them and say, here's immersive audio. Oh, cool. I heard about this in Apple, spatial music. And they just start and they get it right away. Wow. So the ramp is pretty quick. And especially with tools like, Logic Pro coming out with a built-in Dolby Atmos renderer that's very easy to use. The ramp is pretty quick nowadays. Yeah.
So it means, Dave, you and I would take about 3 years.
Thank you, Herb. I appreciate that.
I will jump on.
No, I'm saying me too. Me too. Has anybody ever heard my mixes? You just don't want to.
We get you over the hump quickly. That'll be.
Yeah, no, I mix tequila with stuff. That's about all I mix. But all jokes aside, one of the things I think is important for our audience to know, one of the luxuries that Dave and I have is to meet the people behind the companies, and they make a difference. They make a difference in the product. They make a difference in how you're going to be taken care of as a student. They make a difference in how you're going to be taken care of as a consumer, all kinds of stuff. And I will tell you that in this particular event or this particular show, the folks behind Dolby and Abbey Road, we'll talk about Dolby first, are just like you. They are music lovers who really want this to be better. I don't care who I've talked to, Christine, Ben, Carrie, John, Simone, who's just amazing on the philanthropic side. These folks care, and they care from their own perspective, which means you're the beneficiary of it. And then I've said this often, I think Robin is one of the secret weapons in the audio business because he's so damn unassuming. And he does so much damn good shit creatively, and the way he cares about stuff. And he plays tennis every day to try to stay in shape in Miami. I just found that out. The school is incredible. And of all the schools that we're close to, people know we're really close to Blackbird, and people know that we're close to other schools. We were so proud to have the chair there because of their philosophy about learning and so on and so forth. Now, Robin, let me ask you and Natalia something. Have we picked the winner of the Pensado Scholarship?
Yeah, we did actually today.
Oh, we did? Can we announce it?
Yeah, sure. Trinity.
Yes. Nice. So we're going to get a picture of Trinity. We're going to have Trinity on the show. Trinity, you've got big footsteps to follow because the last guy who won did pretty well, from what I understand. He is
doing well.
he's part of the fabric, and Trinity, by the way, that's exactly what we expect from a Pensado winner. Absolutely, bring the noise, don't cut a corner, kick some ass. And so Congratulations from Dave and I. We are so proud, happy. You're at a great place. And I think this is the community that we're really talking about. It's supportive and collaborative and innovative and cutting edge, man. I would say this. Dave and I have gone through cycles in our 12 years where we've gone from optimism to pessimism. Like, oh God, the business is in trouble. And even though people don't discern it, there's a difference between the record business and the music business and the audio business. They're not all the same thing. They're cousins, but they operate differently. And we get to manage a certain space that intersects. I don't know that I've ever been more optimistic. It's just the stuff that's happening, the conversations I'm in, from technology, the metaverse, opportunities for people to make a living. And I'll just say this, if you're in audio and you're good at it, you're a badass who can get all kinds of jobs, all kinds of places. And if you can't figure it out, text me. I'll figure it out for you. And it's because of the people you see. John Scanlon at Dolby, Robin Reumers, Natalia Schlesinger. These folks are around, available to you. And it's awesome, guys. So I'm sorry I'm fanboying out on you, but I'm proud to know you and proud to know that we're in this fight together.
Ditto from me, Herb, for sure.
No, one of the things that we had talked about in our prep call is you can always tell what a company's doing by who they associate with, too. And so you see Adobe and they reach out for universities and relationships like that. And quite frankly, and I said this to them, even reaching out for us to make sure our audience was part of the uptake of what's going on with Dolby and Atmos. They didn't have to, and thank God. That means I can pay payroll. Yay! Look, if you don't want to be part of this community, you're just making a mistake. It is full of cool people, and I will give you a little tip into the future. I happen to be part of an educational call every Friday that includes all the cohorts in media: film, gaming, television, virtual reality, augmented reality. It's been the most incredible year. Simone from Dolby is part of that. But I'm on it every call, and I brought a couple of people to it. Here's what I found out. That there was a time when audio was a stepchild that you had to have, and then you got to it after everything else was cool. Not now. Audio is the first thing that everybody wants to deal with. And just to give another kudos is the curriculum that we have brought to the table. All the other cohorts want to copy the audio curriculum. That's film, that's gaming, that's television. So if you think you are sitting at the apex of power, baby, if you mess with this stuff, because they can't do nothing without you. You ever watched a film without sound? Ever played a game without sound? I'm playing zombies right now on Call of Duty. I mean, not right this minute, but in a minute. And trying to kill a zombie without sound, because that's half the way I know a zombie's about to kill me, is by sound. So as it goes places and in the metaverse and all the other kinds of stuff, know that messing around with these folks and this kind of stuff gets your career together, gets your opportunity together, gets your solidity together, makes you smarter, and makes you very, very, very attractive in the workplace. You agree, John?
Totally agree. I think that this time we're at right now, with all of this media coming out and with Dolby Atmos being the newest format and a long line of formats, there's so much work out there, and you gave the kudos, so I'll give the kudos back. Appreciate you guys for running Pensado's place for so many years. When I was teaching full time, there's definitely a recommendation to the students. I think the community and building the community as one, right? And not, I used to make the joke like nobody would tell you what mic you would use on a kick drum. It's like, what? It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Share the information. That's what we're here today to do, right? We're here to build everybody up. And so we appreciate you from Dolby being at the forefront of that community building. And it's great to get the word out, and we're hoping to connect with a lot of people with this. Yeah,
absolutely. What people may not know is, and let me be fair, that share open source thing that nobody did before was started by Dave. Dave shared early when nobody did, when nobody wanted to, when it wasn't cool to do. In fact, his peers thought he was nuts, and he wasn't so nutty. Turns out, now he needed the black dude. Listen, he's not humble, so don't don't get that twisted.
Thank you, Harry.
So,
Thanks a lot.
but it's true, but I think John made a point that I think is earlier that is critical. It's a community, guys, and you have a role in the community, and you don't abuse it. It's a special place. When you've been given an opportunity to be a steward of pop culture, that is a rare thing to have, and you need to handle it. And if you want to be like Robin, if you want to be like Natalia, if you want to be like Dave, if you want to be like John, if you want to be like me, you need to care. It starts with caring. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of it is have some damn pride and do great work. Don't do good work. Don't do good work. Do great work. I'd rather see you swing the bat hard and miss than bunt and just walk to the first base. Fuck that. No, knock that shit out the park and let's rewrite what it is and leave yourself a legacy. That's what's exciting about doing this. So sorry, now I gotta go to the gym and work out. We're enthralled, as you can tell. None of this we're as much fans as we are. We get a lot of credit and a lot of love, and I'm stunned 12 years later how much my first Dolby call with John, I was there, I think it was on Blue Jeans, and I had to pull over in a parking lot. And I was sitting in a bad parking lot in a bad part of town, and John was giving us all this kudos. I was like, John, I can't blush, and I also might get knocked out. So I got to get back on the road. So Dave and I are humble. We encourage you to come to NAMM, by the way, when it comes back together. And we're going to try to have some of these folks product featured, and we're going to have a big old thing. We're going to do Pensado Palooza. We'll give away a bunch of stuff and have a killer panels because we celebrate the community, and you're part of the community. There's nothing cooler than badass people doing badass stuff. And Dave and our team are lucky to have three of you here, Robin Reumer and Natalia Schlesinger from Abbey Road Institute, the art house in Miami. And good things will be coming from there. We'll be sharing with you shortly. And then John Scanlon and the badass team at Dolby. Always impressive. And we got a lot more coming for you. Stay tuned. There's going to be some more Dolby information coming up each month. Dolby is making themselves available to you, and that allows you to get ready for the future. And then Abbey Road teaches the way you need to be taught. It's real life. It cuts to the chase. You work on real projects and do real things. It's not theoretical. It's real. And we'll just continue to be Pensado's place. And we thank you guys a bunch.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thank you so much.
See you next time.
All right.